Alright guys, let's start the video. So have you ever wondered how you'll start an web application using the latest UI libraries, for example React, Angular, Vue.js, Next.js, and how you add the authentication into the application? So in today's videos we are going to cover exactly that. So in today's video what we're going to cover is we will build this application in React 19. We will integrate it with the Auth0 and we'll establish an authentication flow where when we click on the continue with Auth0 button, it will talk to the authenticator provider, and when we click on the authentication, when we select our user credentials, it will authenticate the user, and it will call our callback method that we have established, and it will land the user to the home page where we are showing various details that has been fetched from that identity provider from Auth0. And from the signing of the to sign out the user, we can click on the sign out button and it will sign it out, and it will go back to the login page. So that is what we are going to build. So in the next few minutes, what we're going to talk about is the flow, because I have been seeing developers struggling with understanding the flow, how this authentication works, how to set it up, and what are the challenges that I'm seeing various developers are facing. So let's jump in. So this application that I have built, it's a sample application I have built in React 19. I have been using Auth0 library. I'm going to show you the code a little bit, and then we're going to jump in how it works. So let me just share my code on the screen. So, and let's go to the package.json. So as you see, the dependencies, there are React 19 and related dependency for the React 19, React router DOM, and the most important dependency in this particular tutorial is Auth0 and for the Auth React. And in terms of the components, what we are doing is, let's go to the top level, that is the app.js file. So we would need an Auth0 provider which will wrap our routes to protect our routes basically, and we also have a protected route for our home component, which will just make sure that the home page is accessible only and only when the user is authenticated. We will be going to that code as well in a minute. And this is a pretty much standard routing situation here. So if we go now to the login page, which I just showed you in some minutes back, so we are leveraging the use Auth0 hook that is being provided by the Auth0 React library. And when we deconstruct the response of this use Auth0 hook, we are getting bunch of parameters which we can leverage for our authentication purposes. For example, it gives us a login with redirect method. It gives us a flag which tells us whether the user is authenticated or not, and if it is in process of authenticating a user, it is giving us another flag which is loading flag. So that is what I have been using in this code. So if we go a little bit more into the code, so what we are calling is, we are calling this on the click of the login button, which is this continue with Auth0 button. We are ultimately calling the handle login button, and it is basically calling that login with the redirect method that is being, as I mentioned, provided by the use Auth0 hook. And once this is calling, this method will read our configuration. So I created a auth0 config.js file where I have mentioned all the parameters that it would need for setting up for authenticating a user, like the domain, client ID, and authorization parameters. So all these three parameters, it needs to be set up in the Okta developer side as well. I'm going to show that in a bit as well after we cover this code. So on click of the login page, when we call this login redirect, it read this configuration file, and it will fetch our authentication parameters from the Auth0. So as part of this authentication, it will get the access ID and it will get the user ID from the Auth0. So again, it's pretty much plain React code. So depending upon if a user is still in the process of getting the authentication, so we are telling if it is VZ and stuff. So I can link the code link to my description of the video. But that is pretty much what it does. So on successful authentication, we are redirecting the user to the /home route, and in the home route, it is just after the user is getting authenticated successfully, we are getting an user object, and from that user object we can get whatever we need, like the name, family name, or whatever the identity provider has given us in this user object. So that is this. And also, as I mentioned, we are protecting our home page with a ProtectedRoute component, where we are just making sure we are showing the home page only and only if the user is authenticated. And this is again, we are fetching it as part of the deconstructor response from the use auth hook. And if it is an authenticated only and only, then we are showing the home page. Otherwise, we are navigating the user to the login page. So yeah, so that is pretty much as part of the React code goes. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna show the flow, basically how the authentication flow works in the React application. So what I have observed is, and I just mentioned in the beginning of the discussion, I have seen like senior developers struggling to understand the flow. Although it is pretty straightforward, but I have not seen much you can say confidence while working with the developers. So it's pretty simple flow that when a user clicks the login button, it talks to the Auth0, and once the credential verified by the Auth0, it returns a token. That token has the ID token, access token. So ID token is who the user is, and access token represents what that user can do or what that user has, like email or access privileges and stuff like that. And once the token is returned, then we can react to the to that user object that we have received in the application I just showed you in the code, and that is pretty much it. So that's the 5-step process which we use to authenticate a customer or the user while interacting from the application to the Auth0. So that's one piece of it. So the other thing is I wanted to show how we can set it up. So there are two options when you go to the developer.auth0.com, whether to use Okta platform and or to use Auth0. I mean, both things are pretty much same, but usually Okta is preferred for the at the enterprise level users. But Auth0 platform is for us, for the developers to test out the code and stuff like that. At least that's what I understood as I worked on these areas. So if you're a new user, you just click on try Auth0 platform, and it will ask you to set it up. I already set it up. I log in. You can set it up with GitHub, you can set it up with Google or stuff like that. So I set it up with my Gmail account. So let me show you how I did that. So let it load. Then once you log in, it will show you the dashboard, and on the dashboard you can create a new application, and it will ask you which application you wanted to integrate with. So let's say if we go on the left navigation, and let's say we create an application. So as you see, I have two applications already created, but if you want to create another application, you can create one, and then you can select single page web application. And when you click on it, it will basically, it's a pretty self-explanatory wizard. Here you can select the front-end technology that you are using. I'm using React, that's what I told. And here you can mention which port your application running on, meaning what is the URL from where this request will come in. And my application is running on 3000. So if you see it is running 3000, so it will go here 3000. So here it would be 3000. So when you continue it, it would say what are the URLs. So let's go into this. So these are very critical or important information that we need to fill. So the logout URL is the one that would be called by the Auth0 to log a user out. So localhost 3000. Callback URL is the one that Auth0 would call after the successful authentication. Let's say like this. And the web origin is also very important. It allows the Auth0 to accept requests generating from these origins, and same is the case for the cross origin resource sharing as well. So once you save it, then it will create your application and you should be good to go. So you will need to get few things before you log out from here. You need to get your domain from here, let's say this one, and you need to create your client ID as well. So I'll discard it. I will not create another application because I have it. So that is, I wanted to show that this is how we can set up the Auth0 side of things as well. And we need to mention all these details that I mentioned in our auth0.config.js file. So that is pretty much it. I hope it will be helpful for somebody who is struggling to understand the flow or struggling to authenticate their React application, or for that matter any application, front end, Angular, React, doesn't matter. The concept would remain the same while authenticating with the Auth0 or Okta providers. So I hope it will be helpful. If you like the content, please let me know by putting some comments or giving thumbs up to my video. I'll see you in the next video, where I would like to add more into this. Like I would like to add the backend using the Spring Boot, where I will use the Spring Boot to interact with Auth0, and the React application will interact with Spring Boot rather than directly interacting with Auth0. So that would be in my next video. Till then, thank you.